also shows where the bike path would come in along Wasson Way. So we spoke with two of the other groups who were working on the bike path, and the main idea was to have the path follow along the Wasson Bridge as it comes across Redbank and Booster Pike. And then as soon as it essentially flattens out and it's not on a bridge anymore, they were going to divert it up Old Booster and then down Booster Pike and into Marymount. So what we had proposed additionally, because we saw the major disconnect between these two sources of pavement, was to kind of close this area down to personal vehicle or limit it to one lane and take a scenic route of the bike path through basically underneath the skywalk for the LRT station, which would extend out right here. So there would be a bit of a scenic path. You can kind of get views from the Little Miami River, and then it would direct you back up and into, I believe this is Dogwood Park in Marymount as it goes further to the right.
Yeah.
So you could go through Dogwood and get more of a scenic trail experience, or you can take what we were calling the express route, which was to go up Old Booster and then down Booster Pike, which is what the original proposed bike plan was supposed to be. So.
Did we walk through Dogwood Park?
A little bit. When we were there, we couldn't. At first, it was hard to find the correct access road because we thought we could access it through the Miami Bluff Park, but it's not exactly connected right there. But we did walk through, and this seems like a pretty viable area to take a bike path through.
Yeah.
So this is our complex circulation map. It essentially just takes the personal vehicle, the bus, and the pedestrian movement and puts them all into one graphic. And again, shows the scenic bike path, just to show you the total movement throughout the neighborhood. So then we wanted to discuss a little bit of our location change, because during the midterm we had originally planned on locating the station here at a weird angle where the Oasis line and the Wasson line come in. But after further discussion, we decided it would be better to place the LRT station where the lines were more parallel, so that the platforms weren't at an angle. This is our original proposed redevelopment site for retail, commercial, and residential, essentially a smaller scale TOD. And we decided to move that development over across from our new half-circle access route, and we're going to extend another, so it'll be a full circle essentially to serve this area. So you'll have access to all of those surrounding buildings. So this is just the business information. This is Kellogg's. They're a very big employer in the area. They employ between 500 and 1,000 people. Another big one is Haney Design.
They know the site, so you can.
Okay. So then I just have some views set up here that are basically pictures on the site of the way that it looks now in the green space, which is kind of barren. It's a large parking lot, it's gravel. However, there are some very nice buildings in the area, like the Kellogg's building and the Haney Design building. Both have very nice frontages and facades on them. So, and that's a picture that you can. And this is looking down towards where the trail connector would be for the bike path going towards Dogwood Park. So our street pattern, this was the original existing, and what we had originally proposed was just a half circle. However, on further review, we decided to extend that into a full circle, which becomes more evident in our framework here. So the framework shows both the Wasson line and the Oasis line as they come through, with two platforms for each. And the LRT station will be situated between the Haney Design building and Cincinnati Steel Treatment buildings, with a little bit of added retail on the outside edges of the square, with some potential permanent furniture in the little pedestrian square right here. So then as you're walking outward, there are pedestrian pathways that go through this green space. And the green space is a little bit more protected to pedestrians because we decided to alter the course of the street to slow traffic down. Originally, it was just a straight cut through, but we were going to zig it to the left and put some bumps in the road so that the vehicular traffic is slowed down enough to where it's safe for pedestrians to cross through here. Because this is our major mixed-use development to the north of the hub station site, which is going to include retail and commercial on the first floor and affordable density housing for the next potentially 5-story buildings for the next 4 floors. And then the parking garage is situated behind with access from this street, which I just realized is not pictured. So that's going to provide parking for not only these housing units and the retail, but also for the patrons of some of these different businesses in the area and potentially people who work at these businesses. There is going to be a bike parking facility with a potential bike share location at the back of the Haney Design building with access out to the bike trail. It's also going to contain a storage facility. And then we wanted to do some landscaping that included trees and a water feature throughout the scenic trail in order to encourage people to pass through that way. So this is our design. This is the first case study that we use, which is in Santa Rosa, California. It's essentially a new square for light rail streetcar type development. You can see the half circle shape of the buildings with the access through. That was one of our inspirations for the green space and the public space, and just the general shape or layout of the site was this building right here. Then we have Silver Springs, Maryland, which this was a big inspiration for our public space as well as the density housing. So we wanted to take something like this, which is a wider street that provides access for cars as well as providing space for buses to drop off along the sides so that we could do drop-off points for personal vehicles as well. So then Salt Lake City, Utah is another one. You can see the circular traffic pattern and the wider crosswalks that kind of make it a little safer for pedestrians to be out in the street, as well as the glass and steel design, which we'll see later on our terminal, our actual rendering of the terminal. So this is one of the designs that helped us shape the general facade of the terminal, which is steel and glass, because we believe that fit with the industrial character of the neighborhood. As well as we got the idea to make it more of a 2-story development with a skyway access instead of trying to do smaller bridges across the platforms. So this is just another station that we took inspiration from with the open air and the glass. We just wanted it to let in a lot of daylight and natural light, especially since the second story would look out onto the Miami River, essentially. And then our last case study we included is in Miami, Florida. It's for Miami Central Station, which you can kind of see the design elements in our station with the platforms and the skyway. They also, in this design, have used moving sidewalks along this skyway to eliminate longer walking distances, which was something that we also took into account in our design. So this is our site plan, which shows both bike path routes as well as the Oasis and Wasson line with 2 lines and 2 platforms, which is ultimately what we decided was the best arrangement based on our options. So this is just a 3D view of the same area without the bike path pavements. And then this is an aerial of our terminal plan, which includes the platforms you see here, the thicker platforms, and the skyway with the observation deck at the bottom to overlook the river. So this is the walkability illustration, which shows the total distance between the starting point, which is the mixed-use development to the north of the site, and the ending point, which is the observation deck to the south. different walking distances based on which part of the station you're in or what you want to look at. And like I said, we try to minimize the actual walking effort, I suppose, as you move through the station with moving sidewalks, with escalators, and with elevators and stairs down to the platforms, elevators to accommodate for the handicapped or disabled. So these are our different elevation options once we decided on 2 rail lines for each development. So the first one is the incline decline, which we had gone over the pros and the cons of during our midterm presentation. And then we did a second drawing which illustrates the elevation of the Oasis line to the same level as the Wasson line in order to prevent having to use this large slope here. So we propose building a steel structure to elevate the Oasis line, which is also illustrated here in our 3D model. And in the end, we decided that cost-wise and aesthetics-wise, we liked option A better with the incline. So these are our different alignment options for Wasson Way and the Oasis line, since they both come together right around the same point. So the first one shows each line with 2 rails and 3 platforms each, which we later determined was too much. It was taking up too much space, so we decided to eliminate that option. The second option is each Wasson line and Oasis line have 1 rail and 1 passing lane of rail as it goes into the station, which is a design that I pulled from the Eastern Corridor plan. One of their schematics of these stations showed this passing lane, and that was what they favored. This third one is each line would have 2 rails, but 1 double-wide platform to service both sides of the rail instead of having 2 thin platforms separated by rail. So this one down here is essentially if the Wasson Way line stopped at this station and the Oasis line was the only one that kept running as it goes down to Newtown. And then this option shows instead of continuing, stopping one or continuing both, just having them merge right inside or right outside of the station and continuing just one line out towards Eastgate and Newtown. And then this last one is just each line with 1 rail and a double-wide platform to service both. So this is a final site plan illustration of the bike paths throughout the scenic bike path. And shows the different pavers and green spaces in our central public space. And then this is our rendering of our hub station with the incline decline, the 2 platforms and 2 rails for each. And you can see a little bit of public space up here, the square that's formed by the boundary of the LRT station and Haney Design and Cincinnati Steel Trees buildings. So then we just included some renderings of potential views. This is, again, that square that is formed by the LRT station, Cincinnati Steel Treatment Building, and Haney Design over here. This is a view from one of the platforms as you're waiting for the train. The ticket kiosk and schedule, along with the escalators that service the second floor. Information desk and kiosk and exit, and then the observation deck view. And then I just included graphics of both of our posters.